Hello friends and welcome. Today we're going to do a replay analysis for this Windranger who has kind of done what I've done and has been in like 6.7k-ish MMR, dropped down to like 5.3, kind of like bouncing in between a little bit. So going to, if you haven't seen it, watch the video from Monday where I talked about what I think is good in this patch. So I'm going to, with reference to that, talk about this game and kind of highlight some things. And because this is well, right now it's about a Divine game, but because I know you've played at higher ranks, I kind of went through the game quickly first just to get an idea of what I want to talk about so we don't spend our time nitpicking smaller, less important things for you, since I kind of know you've got like a higher capacity for some of what we're going to talk about. So I just need to like highlight the right stuff. So first of all, let's talk about draft and matchup because I actually think that's a big part of why you end up losing this game. So draft-wise, take a look at these teams. You have a better late-game team. You got an Arc Warden and a Sniper mid. If I had this on my team, I'd feel like it's kind of like they kind of do the same stuff. So it's going to be a slower game for us. We want it to be, but you'll probably win in the late game, right? Because you just scale better when we look at them. They have an Undying, a Tusk mid. They got this Visage off lane. Those kind of heroes drop off the later the game goes. The familiars die really easily. And then, Earthshaker and PA scale pretty decently, I'd say. But, more than like a Sniper, Arc Warden, LC Infinite scale, plus, Windranger support who can scale up pretty well, and Lich who's got like the negative armor, or not negative armor, the damage reduction on right clicks. It's going to be fantastic this game. So I think you have a really good draft going into the mid to late game. They have a draft very good in the early game. So we want to keep that in mind. We generally want to maintain the status quo of just farming. We don't want to get too passive, though. Of course, you want to do what you can, but we don't want to do anything that would, speed up the game too much against our favor. If you're just snowballing, that's fine. We can do that. So that's the draft. The lane, it is Undying and PA versus you and LC. So I actually think you want to think about creep dragging. Because if Undying plays the lane correctly, which he's not, but if he did, I think LC would have a very tough time this game. This camp block, it's actually unnecessary, because think about what should happen. LC and PA will be like here. You'll be harassing as much as possible as the only ranged hero, so you're going to have a pretty decent time. And then Undying should really just plant himself in the lane, do a ton of decays on LC, and deny creeps in front of her face, and in front of your face, because he'll have a ton of damage, he's melee. So you guys will poke him, but as long as he buys enough regen, he'll just sit there and do that and make your laning stage miserable. When LC gets too low on health, too many decays, like 3 probably, 2 or 3, PA could possibly play aggressive, and they can both go and commit on Tombstone. So the laning stage should actually be pretty annoying for you, and that's why I think like creep drag at level, or at the second wave. And frankly, if Undying goes to do a small pull, that's actually in your favor, because he should not leave this lane. Even if this camp is up, Undying should be sitting here playing the lane, and only do this as is absolutely necessary. And if you see the lane shoving, your job is to come over here and stop him from pulling anyways. So I don't actually think you need to commit 50 gold for this sentry, and even the second sentry you could maybe skip out on, but I'm kind of okay with you leaving it open. To try to keep this camp open in case you want to do pulls. But like I said, I think the first creep drag could be good. So now let's zoom through the laning stage with that in mind. So here, I kind of get it. You didn't see them. You walked over. Unfortunate, LC's going to lose a good chunk of health. But, whatever. It just happens. That's not going to be why you, go up or down in MMR massive amounts. So I will say, for the most part, your prioritization between harassing and getting last hits and denies is pretty good. One thing here, your camera, notice it doesn't see the range creep. You haven't picked a skill yet, and maybe you were communicating this, but LC will end up securing these, but it's still good just like for your own screen to keep an eye on that range creep to know what you need to do. You kind of saw it at the very end, but that wouldn't give you much time to react if you wanted to take power shot and try to secure it or something. So overall, this is okay. You unblock that camp, and then you're just kind of like poking and harassing. Undying is like I don't think he should have even done this. I don't think he cares that much about the camp, or he should have done that sooner rather than leave. I think he should be staying here. That's going to be kind of the trend. I feel like he's you know, walking around here doing this stuff really should just be in here going for these kind of denies a lot more than he is. Like, all this stuff, I don't care about that. I'd just be like here right now as Undying. Not that I'm a great Undying player, but I feel like that's what he should be doing. Like, he's worrying about this small camp. This is good for you, right? Go ahead and do pulls. Small camp pulls are hard to maintain equilibrium anyways. And every time he's out of lane, you two are like happy here. He shouldn't be giving LC this kind of game. And that's why, like, I think the fact that you didn't creep drag didn't punish you this game, just because I don't think Undying played correctly either. But I think if you played like against a better Undying who approached this lane in a better manner, I think your approach would then look worse, which was to stay in this lane and not do the creep drag at level 2. So I wanted to highlight that because that can be why you can bounce between the ranks, where it's like, oh, I play the lane well enough to beat Divine players who aren't playing optimally either, but then when I play against someone who's playing optimally, I am suboptimal, and then I lose the game. So I keep bouncing back and forth. So that can be one thing, identifying how the lane should go and playing it out that way. Now, I say all this, there are many matchups where I go, oh, I should creep drag, and then I don't do it. But, you know, maybe it's more of a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. I at least want to, talk about it. I do think it's the correct approach for this lane. At least the first... the second wave, I guess, into some of the other stuff. Ultimately, though, eventually this lane devolves into you just doing a ton of hard pulls that Undying is, never ready to stop. And I think that's the right idea. You don't want to play a normal lane. I think it just starts with, creep dragging and a bit more of that. Something I want to point out is that you don't look at the mid or the top too often throughout your laning stage. Again, something I also struggle with. But it is good just to keep in mind. I'm gonna, let you know you should do it, just so you know, is it worth roaming that way? Is it something I need to keep an eye out TPing for? That kind of thing. This overall is fine right now. Okay, let's start zooming through here because I'll start talking about the next stage of the game, which is that your team actually starts doing pretty well. Like I said, I don't think Undying properly punishes down here. You even manage to pick up a kill, and then you do a lot of pulls, which help LC to get to, a certain level of farm. What's happening in the top lane is that Arc Warden's kicking ass. So Arc Warden is getting tons of kills, lots of gold going. But let's go back to the draft, which is that we kind of want the game to go to the mid to late game. And if we take an early lead, that's great, but that doesn't necessarily mean we should start playing super aggressive because we just don't have the heroes / the build for it. So Arc Warden is going for a Midas. I actually think it's on the way. So even though he's pretty rich, take away 2,000 gold from the hero because the Midas doesn't actually help him fight that much. I know it has some attack speed, but relative to other early game items, those help fight more. Take a look at what Visage has queued up, right? He's going to start building this early Vlad compared to your LC, who after these phase boots, she's going to go Blink. And although Blink is great at initiating, it's once you initiate, it's got no stats for a fight. So you don't want to take any of these early team fights if these are the builds people are going for. Your team is let's split, let's delay, and let's do pickoffs around LC. So let me keep speeding up till we get to that point, because besides the stuff I talked about in the laning stage, I don't have that much more to talk about for you. You just keep doing these pulls, and I think it's pretty good. You dodge this stuff. Tusk comes down here. I don't know if you're doing this or not, so I'll just say it, right? This is where you want to communicate to the team. Bunch of heroes down here, pushing mid, pushing top, if you can. Because like I said, we're not looking to play super aggressive, but we'll take what we get. And if they're rotating a ton of heroes down here, if we can take the mid tower as the team that wants the game to be delayed and protect our own, fantastic. So it's helpful to communicate this stuff just in case they're not paying attention to the minimap. It'll really help along your draft. It's not really your draft plan, but it's just kind of the draft and then what we got to do to adapt to it. Let me drink some of my tea. Yum. Okay. So this kind of stuff, just laning us more. I think this duel is a little hopeful, but whatever. Causing some chaos and all that. TP here to try to help him, and then let's make our way back bottom. Because Arc Warden is doing so well, we're actually okay leaving him in the 1v1, I would say, and just be ready to TP up there to help him. Let him just start farming, jungling out with the clone and this double Midas, right? I'm going to start pulling attention away from him, let him do his own thing, bring Lich down here. And I know this isn't you, but you can ask him like, hey, Lich, can you like walk down here so that we can start playing around this duel? Because LC will not win duels on her own. Look at this draft. There's not like easy duels. She needs the help of anyone to help her get kills, but like, hey, Arc Warden and Sniper, come help me, right? That's not what's going to happen. It's going to be the two supports. So, I mean, you're playing with her right now, but you're kind of, you alone is not enough almost, especially with like Undying and like Soul Rip and stuff. So you kind of need to ask this Lich to come down as well and help provide the rest of the burst, the harass that'll keep people low to then finally pick up some of these dual kills. Or even if you don't get the dual kills, you are just drawing attention down here, and then your mid and your Arc Warden, they're just going to be farming. They're going to be happy. But I kind of feel like starting around here, kind of lose a little bit of focus, and we're not playing with the LC quite enough. I think you start doing like these kind of pulls, I think are starting to be a little bit too much, where you're killing off your creep waves, but it's also preventing you from like pushing up and being aggressive. This ward, let's think about what we want to do. We want to draw a lot of attention to this tower, to the enemy. This is going to be too late to give us information. You either want to see the Tusk rotating, in which case it needs to be around the mid lane or somewhere around here, or you need to see these teleports come in, because Tusk could TP here and then just snowball straight in. And by the time you see him from this ward, you have no time to react. So this ward should be like out front of the tower or out behind the tower to spot these kind of rotations, right? We're trying to think about what we're trying to do, which is cause problems, but not actually engage in a major fight. So this kind of ward is just like, you know, the major fight would probably have already started by the time you see anything from that ward. But otherwise, this stuff still looking okay. Now I see like 2 heroes top, 2 heroes bottom. So we're kind of just okay, but we do kind of want the Lich to come down here to like actually do stuff. But as long as top keeps going well, I'm also kind of okay with it. Another mid rotation. This is good to kind of just like keep Sniper alive. And then let's just make our way bottom again. Skip ahead a little bit. Oh, that's a long pause, huh? Forgot about that. And then you did your best. I see you pinging, and then Sniper just doesn't, you know, do much. You can't do much about that. I would just come here and do what you're doing, which is shove out the mid lane as fast as possible. And then after this, I think you can consider going bot again. If you're worried about top, I don't know, I guess you can stay, but like I do want to be bottom, and I want to think about, you know, I'll just like TP to rotate. Since TP is still on cooldown, I'm kind of okay that you stay here. But the longer you're here, I feel like, you know, not doing things with LC, it would have been really nice if you can like coordinate with Lich to get these dual kills. Again, it's not just something on you. You do need like the Lich to react as well. So let's at least just talk about it so you know kind of what you should try to push your team to do. And if it doesn't happen in every game, you know, I would never expect that. But you should at least know, you should at least like try to ask and organize. Like this, what's happening? She'll never kill anyone solo with a blink duel. Anyone full health or like mostly healthy, right? She has to have supports to help her get this kill. This is where, this isn't on you. This is just like a team thing, things that are going wrong. This is the team not playing to the draft, which is like, why is she hunting for kills alone when the supports aren't with her? If the supports aren't with her, she should just keep laning. But you almost don't need to do this. Like, and she almost doesn't even need to build Blink first. I would say she could build like Blade Mail first even, and just like keep walking at this tower. And anytime PA walks like up and doesn't back away, Blade Mail duel after a bit of harass, right? And then you can actually kill her. But the Blink duel, the Blink actually provides no like extra damage, armor, survivability, anything like that. So like when Legion has to be the one kind of like pushing this because you have 2 really backline heroes in the Sniper and the Arc Warden, like she's actually not as survivable as she would like to be. So that's kind of like on her. But we're also kind of not playing with her, so she's feeling like lost. I feel like she really wants to duel, and she's like, it's not happening in the lane. I'm just gonna look for people, you know. And I think if you like keep playing with her and provide her direction in the sense of like, hey, let's keep pressuring this tower. Lich, come on, come down here. Let's, you know, get this tower. Hopefully they start playing, you know, in a way that I think is more helpful. I don't know if this gank is like, you know, really worth her time. I feel like we're not. I know I said we're like kind of okay with the status quo, but like we take what we get. And like this is supposed to be something we're getting when we're 4K in the lead. So here's what I talk about. This is the fight that loses your team a ton of momentum. This is Arc Warden running away from Earthshaker, and I think Tusk was up here. Or maybe it's Tusk and Visage. Down here, so this is where LC should be. This is where you should be. You should already be pushing in this tower. And right now, if you're worried about a lot of people rotating top, Arc Warden should actually just TP down here, help you all take this tower. If you're not sure how many people are up here and if you should be that scared, Arc Warden should be like chilling back here. He just got away from those two heroes, so he should be like chilling back here and let the clones shove out the lane. You all should be pushing this bottom lane. You should not engage in this top fight because, like I said, take away 2,000 gold from Arc Warden's net worth because the attack speed's like okay, but you know, he is built for farming, not fighting right now. Your sniper, kind of sniper items. You're not really online yet. You're like a support, so you're good to go. Lich is good to go, except he doesn't have his ult, which is pretty important for like a big team fight up here. And then Elsie has this blink, so she kind of wants to be involved in this stuff. But at the same time, do we really want to be like, come up in here and like gang for our Arc Warden? It's kind of weird. We're supposed to be drawing attention away from him rather than towards him. He just wants to like split up and farm with his with his Hand of Midas and Illusion, not really like ready to fight until he finishes his Gleipnir. Then he's good to go, but he's not there yet. If we look at the enemy team, Visage has built Vlad's. So even though Visage's net worth is below LC's, but if you think about what LC bought and like how it operates in a fight, it's not good in a straight team fight. It's good in small pickoffs. So as your team like rotates up here, it's like kind of not the fight you want to be taking. Because like Visage, team fight Vlad's. Undying, just like, you know, an Undying early game hero. Tusk, he needs to be doing stuff, right? I'd say he's kind of okay with where he's at, but he'd like to start getting kills. And if he doesn't get kills, he doesn't farm all that fast compared to other heroes. And he'll ultimately start to drop off. It's like at this period that's a little bit make or break for him. He's like, we gotta find kills. So if you just don't engage with him, it's gonna make him sad and he's gonna have a hard time. So there's a lot of setup, I guess, to say like as your team all rotates up here, when Arc Clone is down and Lich Ult is down, into the team that has been like building early game items and has picked early game heroes, I feel like your team kind of threw away this lead a little bit. Granted, she also like dueled a very tough hero, and she has no like previous duels. Like I said, she has no like actual stats and stuff. None of you can help her because all your like the big ults are on cooldown. Lich got solo killed by Visage. Arc Warden unfortunately dies here. So Tusk shoots up in net worth. This was a fight that we just could have totally avoided. You could have been down here with LC pushing in this lane. When this many heroes rotate in, Sniper starts pushing in mid. I mean, that's Sniper's own mistake. Like, what the heck's he doing instead of, like, shoving in mid? But, you know, he could have been doing that. Or, like, Arc Warden when he sees this, and he's like, oh, too many heroes. I don't want to be up here. TP's here, pushes in mid himself, or TP's down here, helps you take this. And then Lich. Maybe Lich can stay up here and, like, die and just, like, shield this and, like, stall out another wave or two. Or Lich can also ditch it and go over here. And ultimately, you'll be happy because you're still out farming them even as you lose one tower. But hopefully you're like trading a little bit with it and you're kind of taking a tower of your own. And that'll help you out because we're still in this farming period, not this like group fighting period. So although it still says 3k ahead, I think that was really big for the enemy team, especially that Tusk who needed those kind of like kills. Then he picks up another kill here on the Sniper. That's just a good rotation from Tusk. He TP'd down here. I think he like smoked or maybe got an Invis rune or something. Let's actually find out. Let's see what he did. Right, he TP'd down here. I guess he just walked. He just walked here and did this. I didn't even notice. Good D ward after the fact, you know, but unfortunate. Oh, something else your team needs that I forgot to say earlier. Your team needs some kind of like deep ward here or here. It would help you just to like spot these kind of like early team rotations. If you just put them like along your own edge, stuff like this can happen where they like already smoke in and they kill you. You want to see them like smoking so you can avoid them. So like one deep ward would help your team identify minimap stuff a lot. Hey, look at that. Super easy PA kill when she's got the blink duel and two supports provide the damage. Easy peasy. Should have done that like 7 minutes ago, ideally. And I know you're just 1/3 of this combo. Maybe you were telling your team that, but let me just say it out loud for everyone watching this video, and just in case you didn't do that stuff, that is what we would like to happen, and we'd just like it a little sooner. So here after that kill, and they're all missing, this is where you start being careful. This is where like one deep ward and around here would really help. I don't know where Tusk is, and I'm really scared of Tusk and Visage right now. I want to be avoiding their map movements. The two supports are down here, which kind of makes me think, you know, at any point a core could come down here. There's Visage, and you know, at this point it's a little too late once this happens. And then it turns out Tusk was here too, so we're all gonna die. And I feel that if your team had managed to place down a deep ward earlier, it could have helped a lot. And I'm talking like it's hypothetical. I forgot to point it out. Earlier in your mid rotation here, you did have a ward and you walked through here, but you didn't quite place it. You may have just forgotten, or maybe you wish you had a sentry. I think that's the one you actually placed here, come to think about it, that we didn't talked about. That one should have been like somewhere in here, which would help set up future deep wards, or back here to spot like TPs. I mean, it would have died by now anyways, but like that conceptually is what that ward should have been looking for. It's like these kind of early movements from the team that like this is their go time is when they're strong, and they've now caught up. Like 3K in that short amount of time is crazy, all things considered. So this is why I feel like your team lost a lot of momentum here. Just sipping my tea, don't mind me. I've been talking a lot. I've been recording in batch today. I was actually just debating, because I kind of think for your rank of game, this kind of mistake is serious enough. Hey, look at that. Another easy duel win when we have two people helping me out. I think I've already highlighted enough things that could have changed this game pretty significantly. Like if you don't drop from 4K ahead to 1K ahead, you know, you're probably approaching like 6 to 7K at this point in the lead if you just avoid them and like continue farming versus like some of these deaths. So like that alone would probably be enough to change the game, but we can go a little further, which is really just going to be me reiterating that they kind of like just outmaneuvered your team for a bit. Their wards, let's actually go look at their perspective. Their wards just allowed them to do some like early game movements. Your team's wards didn't really allow you to detect that stuff until it was too late. I know you're the 4, so we could say it's kind of Lich's job, but at the same time, you know, you can help out with this kind of stuff too. It's good to know like what kind of vision your team needs to have. So like, boom, oh, maybe we can kill this Undying. Turns out they're all here, you know, oops. And this is where like any kind of deep ward may have spotted these and given you the like 3-4 extra seconds you need to like ditch Undying. Who cares? Just get out of here. Arc Warden farming really effectively. So if we just completely avoid this fight, even if like 4 heroes aren't farming down here, we're coming out ahead because Arc Warden is like double farming for 2 heroes, and we're the late game team. So the more things that they fail to do, the happier we are. But here they come down and get another successful kill on Sniper. And then I think they're going to pick up a couple more as well. Maybe you're grabbing this. Okay, you guys keep going. I don't know if you should. Tusk is here. Yeah. Ooh, now we have the Gleipnir though. So now we're kind of ready. So actually maybe staying was fine. Once you have this Gleipnir, you're a lot more active as a team. So I'd say now is the window we want. And so if we just go back to that earlier fight, right? Your team only needed to stall out for like 5 more minutes, and you'd have such a strong timing window here, right? If we didn't lose those last 2 fights, you're probably at like a 7K lead at this point. This guy, you know, Gleipnir ready to go, and the 4 of you, maybe at least 3 of you, just start moving things, and he'll like TP his clone in every time to help. Versus, hey, we gave Tusk his Desolator because we gave him a lot of kills. Undying made progress towards a mech. You know, the Wraith Pact is now online, and we're halfway essentially to the Ags. You know, the Blink, you know, halfway progress. Like, oops. You know, the last couple fights really just hurt us. Again, this kind of ward, I think you're like starting to learn. You're like, yeah, when they pop out like that, that's no good. But again, instead of like popping out there, I think it's just as likely that Tusk, like you guys try to push this, and Tusk TPs into these trees and just snowballs you. And again, it's like too late. So I think this is like still not deep enough. It's better than here, but like needs to be further in even. You need to catch this like well ahead of time. As soon as they start walking down, you want to like start avoiding and pretending like, oh, just by chance I'm leaving, you know, so you can like hang around a little bit. But I mean, you can see, right, this Gleipnir is a pretty good power spike. So if we just wait a little longer, it would have been a little easier with that. And this overall movement was good. Can't remember. How come you guys going to take this? I guess they're respawning. Yeah, so they're respawning. You want to get out. Looks like you guys stayed a little long, so now you're dying. I think that was avoidable. You got to keep in mind, like, as they respawn, what are they going to do? They're going to feel like they're in there. Okay, literally, let's go watch the perspective. Okay, this is good to see, okay? Okay, here I am. I'm Tusk. I'm bored. I'm dead. I want to kill people. What's he looking at? He's looking at people he can kill. He's trying to decide. He's like, which one's easier? Which one's good? You know, and then he sees this. He's like, oh, hell yeah. You know, and he just comes in. PA, not a fighter. So let's think, let's go through her imagination, right? She's dead. Let's see what she's doing. She should be looking around, and instead of thinking about, ooh, I want to kill people, she should be thinking, ooh, I want to farm, because I just finished this Battle Fury, and I need to, like, accumulate some net worth now. So she should be looking around for, like, empty parts of the map, whereas Tusk should be looking for, like, action. And so she walks out, is pretty good on her. Oh, that's sad. It fortified, and then she lost all that farm. Too bad. But you want to be able to do this. You want to imagine as people are dead, what they're looking around and what they want to do. And so, like, after that fight and they were getting close to respawning, I can tell you, like, they're probably going to come down here. They want to do stuff. And again, if you just, like, back off and avoid that rotation, you're just not giving them things at a time when they really need things. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. Itemization. You're saving up for a blink. I admit I don't play Windranger, so I will kind of leave the itemization a little bit up to you, but I do think blink is probably not the item you need. Let's go back to the draft, how I think the fight should break out. You have two really long range damage dealers in the back. You have a Lich who can provide a shield for them and like a really good ult when they get jumped to like kind of counteract the enemy jumping in and grouping in and funneling in. You do have one initiation in terms of the LC, but I don't really think, besides like pickoffs, that's how you want to start major team fights until you get like really ahead. You kind of like let them come in. It's kind of what they have to, right? Tusk, PA, they're gonna go in, and you're just gonna like build the distance and help your team kite. So I kind of think Shard and Forstaff would be better than Blink, but if you think Blink is like, oh, I will blink and get the double stuns to kite for my team, then that's fine with me. Like I said, I don't play Windranger. I'll trust your sense of like itemization to accomplish goals, but I'm going to highlight the goals for you, which is that I don't think you're like looking to catch people, which is what this blink dagger makes me think you're trying to do. I think you should just be like watching your Arc Warden and Sniper push up to objectives with the LC kind of taking the front or standing behind them to like save them. And then like once the initiations happen, you save them somehow. And I don't know if Blink will help you save them, but I do see how like Shard and Forstaff can help you save them. Or just armor items in general, because I mean, they're a very right-click based team. Okay, we were talking about unrelated stuff for a bit, so let me go back in time a little so we can set the stage of this as well. Because I think something I want to highlight from this replay, which we might, I might call it instead of watching the whole game. Let's just highlight a couple more things for you to work on. I want you to be able to read the map to fulfill the purpose of what we've been talking about, which is like, let's avoid the enemy. Let's go back just a little further. Okay, all eyes on the minimap right now. So Visage here, these guys were doing some like crazy dive on orange. So I see two heroes down here, and I'm scared of Tusk, right? And I saw Visage down here as well. So I think there's at least 3 heroes here. The one here I didn't see because Pia was here is Earthshaker. So Earthshaker could be anywhere. But we just kind of want to assume he's with the scariest. He's making like the best scary play. And the best thing for them to do is to continue grouping up and forcing things. So if you saw 3 people here, what your team should be doing is moving out of here. You should be making your way top, making your way into this upper jungle, pushing out mid safely, because if they're down here, what are their options if they want to make things happen? They come through here, they come through here, or they come through here. That's really all they can do, unless they want to rotate 4 people by TPing. And like at that point, all the power to them for doing that. You know, I don't think it'll happen in a pub though, at least at this rank. So those are their most likely courses of action. So because we still want to just avoid, especially because we gave him a little bit too much, like let's look at our team. He's kind of ready, but like why not split them up with a clone and then get the pickoffs we want? LC not yet at BKB. Sniper still kind of like farming stuff up. So like, why do we really need to engage them now? Like mid to late game, like I said, we're gonna feel better then. So let's just keep avoiding. If they're going to commit 4 heroes here, why can't we take 2 lanes and outfarm them and be happy, right? So if we see 3 heroes down here, that has to be my assumption that something's going to happen here. And this is where, as a support, I will be saying, they're here, move top. Like, don't fight them right now. Keep going in the late game, right? So, like, push out mid a bit, push out top. One support can be back here, just like power shot through here if it's you, or like Lich Frost Shield, but you don't want it to be the cores. You can maybe send the clone, but you don't want to really like engage the team. So the fact that he's just standing here farming, if he won't leave, you need to like die for him, and you need to like stand here or here and hope that they find you first before him, and it gives him time to get away. But if you leave like this and leave him on point, he can be jumped first. Like your team's like moving to engage in the enemy, and debatably, you're in a good spot. You're in this triangle, and you've got like the 5 heroes. Your team doesn't really have vision, so that's a downside. But like, at least in terms of grouping and location, it's not the worst. But again, I would ask you, like, why do we need to do this? We don't really need to, especially because we're still not, like, I'd say, like, at the best items in the world versus a team that has been, like, building towards doing this early fighting. So, we continue to stay here and kind of engage. Arc Warden shows in the lane. He really shouldn't right now, and because of that, he's going to get caught out first and killed. Now, if Arc Warden survives, you probably can win this fight, especially as they dove like this. Like, double Gleipnir here would have been, like, killer, right? But he got caught out. It's a series of, like, unfortunate events, I guess, where, like, he just overextended a bit, stayed too long, thinks he shouldn't. All of this you can do by reading the map, and I'm not expecting you to like control all your teammates, but I guess I'm just talking through it so people watching the video can also see, like, you can predict this stuff based on the draft, how people want to play, how they've shown they've been playing, right? It's not the first time they've grouped up and done stuff. They've done it several times. And by reading the map and seeing them do stuff, you can predict what they're going to do based on where they are, right? If they're here, I'm not expecting them to like, whoop, pop up top, right? It's probably here, here, or here, right? And if we know, hey, we're an early game team and we're stronger, let's engage them. If we're the late game team and we're not stronger, let's dodge them. So I think although this fight could have worked out if there's like slightly better individual decisions, things like kind of go your favor, I also think it's just like the lower value play. I think it's like not the best thing you could do, which would be to like continue to avoid. And I mean, it is pretty close, right? So this is why, like, yeah, if the Arc Warden hadn't got caught out, it really would have probably worked out in your favor. You can see it's like pretty close. So I don't know. This, along with the other things, I think really threw away your team's lead, right? You guys were like 4K up by like 10 minutes or something. A little after that, I think. But you see, like, it got a lot closer and it was like totally avoidable. So I don't know how much more we really need to like keep going to it. I do feel like this is probably enough to like start thinking about and focusing on. I do think your laning stage was, like, in terms of the last hitting mechanics and all that, the denies, harass, all of that was really good. Maybe you need to think about creep dragging a little bit, but I also know, you know, pubs are hard to do that. It's kind of like iffy with some off laners, whether they're open to it or not. So I'm not even going to make that big a deal of it, of the laning stage, but I do think for you, if you knew everything I was talking about, then it's fine. Like, sometimes your teams just don't do what you need them to do. But if you didn't, and some of it was new, especially like reading the map, predicting what the enemy wanted to do, and how we need to adapt to that, then I think that's what could help you as a like bigger grand scheme of things of keeping your MMR. I think understanding the game plan is pretty important for Divine to Immortal. Like, I don't think you can approach the game the same way every single time at this rank. Skills are high enough that you can't just like always outskill people. You kind of have to like play the heroes you pick and the draft you get into, which I think is a new concept for like Divine to Immortal. Before this, it's very much like, oh, I'm just really good at my hero and my role, and I can carry this way because they make mistakes. And like, you can still kind of do that, but like, I think it's more and more important to be like, I picked an early game hero. I have to play an early game playstyle. I picked a late game hero. Why am I here? Why is the main hero here and not in a much safer spot and sending the clone in, right? And you need to do this for your team, right? You need to identify like this is what they want to do, so I can't force them into situations that they don't want to be in. It's a lot of like game plan understanding, that kind of stuff. So I think this is where we'll stop. I don't remember if you win or lose. It does look like it drags out for a while. Let's find out. Okay, looks like Radiant does win. Let's take a look at the graph. Yeah, so you were like, your team was like 10K, or sorry, like 4K up around like this point, which is really good, right? Your team should not have been in that situation considering your draft, yet you were. So if you just maintained this pace, it would have looked like exponential with an Arc Warden. You really would have like started like really dipping down here. Instead, like there were just like a lot of like these fights that we don't actually want to take, and that's why the enemy team like pulled it back, and then looks like they like eventually looks like there were some struggles, but eventually solidified it into the win. So I think we will stop there. Yeah, 36 minutes I think is a good length already. So hopefully that was helpful. I know you will still lose games where the teams don't listen, but as long as you know what the correct thing to do is, and you can try to direct your teammates a little bit, it will slowly push your win rate up, right? You only got to win a couple extra games here and there by telling teams the right thing to do, and then you win like 3 extra games here and there. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys found that helpful, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.